really want this show.
Hey, welcome to Absurdist Asylum. Welcome to Absurdist Asylum. I'm Jason Velarde. There are some new and exciting things going on in the show, so we'll get right into it. Be sure to listen for Sugar Lumps by Flight of the Conchords. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter at Absurdist Asylum, and email us at absurdasylum@gmail.com.
Hey, should we do a shot before we start?
Yes, let's do a shot.
Let me tell you. I see you girls checking out the trunk. I see you girls checking out the front of my trunk. I see you girls looking at my junk, then checking out my rump, then back to my sugar lumps. When I shake it all up. You probably think that my pants have the mumps. It's just my sugar lump bump. It looks so good, that's why I keep them in the front.
All the ladies checking out.
What's the most recent movie you've seen in theaters?
The most recent movie I have seen was not of my picking. It was of Mary's. It was Medea's Boo 2.
Have you seen Medea's Boo 1?
I've seen a lot of the Medea movies, and I'm not a fan of either of them.
Any of them? Either of them?
I mean, Medea's Goes to Jail was okay. It was funny, but Tyler Perry's definitely gone off the rails.
Fair enough. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I saw the trailer for the first Medea Halloween movie, and I was like, wow, I can't believe that they're like sinking to that. It's Medea's turning into Ernest. And then when I saw Medea's Boo 2, I was like, it was a complete surprise. I heard about it like when it was actually out in theaters, and it's just like, why did they do this?
Exactly.
Do they need the money that bad?
God, I could rant about that movie for 3 weeks and still not have enough to say.
Well,
So it was terrible.
Speaking of rants, welcome to Absurdist Asylum. I'm Jason Velarde, and unfortunately I'm not joined by Jeff and Peter today, but I did want to thank them for helping me get this thing started, and they will be back in some other capacity, probably as guests in the future. But I did want to welcome my friend and the new co-host of the show, Brad Cousy. He's actually a film student at the Colorado Film School. Is that correct? Did I say that right?
That is correct.
And we're co-workers, and we get along real well, and I think he'll be great for the show. Brad, did you want to say hi? Tell us anything about yourself?
Yeah, I'll talk to all of our thousands of subscribers and viewers.
All of them.
All of them. All 1,187. Random number I just decided to pick. Like Jason said, my name is Brad. I go to the Colorado Film School. I'm studying cinematography. That's kind of my expertise. I do dabble in a lot of other aspects of filmmaking. Filmmaking is definitely my passion. And so watching movies basically is homework to me. I get to study all sorts of stuff and then figure out what not to do so I don't come up with a bad movie like Medea's Boo 2.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Absurdist Asylum is homework. Be sure and write us and tell us how you enjoyed your homework.
Exactly. And then, send the information to me so I can not have to do tests. Let's turn in their homework.
Yeah, that makes sense. I will follow that up by saying, Brad and I, we talk about movies a lot at work. We've talked about movies outside of work. And he's got an interesting perspective, and I'm sure he'll be a great contribution to the show. But let's not drone on and on. The show must go on. Today I have a movie for you that was actually kind of a last-minute pick, and it was inspired by the last movie I had seen in theaters, which was Thor Ragnarok.
Okay.
Brad, I know I asked you this earlier, but you haven't seen Thor Ragnarok.
Not yet.
Most people would say that's a shame, but I enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie, I was really tired during it, so I was kind of in and out. But it was good. It was good. I enjoyed. I mean, the effects were great. Cate Blanchett's makeup was great. The character that inspired me to do this movie was great. Honestly, I can't even remember his name, but he was the Blue Rock character, and he was actually voiced by the director Taika Waititi. Brad, I'm sorry. Do you know anything about Taika Waititi?
Yeah, I know he's done a couple of other movies that are in the MCU universe. I haven't followed his career too much, but I've seen that he's been getting a lot of praise for Thor Ragnarok, so I'm actually really excited to hopefully see it next weekend.
Yeah, it was enjoyable, and it's actually funny that the standout character was this kind of, like, I can't even remember his name. I'll look it up while I'm talking, but was this kind of like non-character person who was just there to like deliver the funny lines, and the director actually voiced it himself.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah, so when I was watching it, Lizzie and I were like, "Oh, we have to remember to look up who that is." And then as soon as the movie was over, I pulled out my phone and I was reading through, and I was like, "Wait a second, was that the director?" So it was quite enjoyable, and the character that I'm talking about, I will get him just here in a second. Like I said, he was just like the comedic relief of the movie, even though the movie itself was quite funny. So
I'm pulling up Thor Ragnarok's IMDb.
Yeah, it was Korg. The Blue Rock character named Korg was directed by Taika Waititi. Now, he's had a lot of other great movies, and I actually haven't even seen them, but I know they're great because they're just critically acclaimed. Most recently of which was The Hunt for the Wilder People, which is a movie featuring Sam Neill, which I haven't seen, which I plan on seeing, especially after seeing Thor Ragnarok. More famously than some of the others was What We Do in the Shadows, a movie. It's a mockumentary about vampires and how they live their daily lives that looks quite hilarious, and I'm definitely going to watch that. And then there is a movie called Eagle vs. Shark. Now, Brad, have you ever seen the movie Eagle vs. Shark? Heard anything about it?
I remember seeing the trailer a while back, and it kind of reminds me of like this, like, vote for Pedro. Napoleon Dynamite. It's got like a Napoleon Dynamite feel to it.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, but the first time I watched Napoleon Dynamite, it was hilarious. The remaining times, it was not. So I'm hoping that... Oh, by the way, we are watching Eagle vs. Shark, if you hadn't gathered that.
That's what I was guessing, right.
It's on Netflix. Shout out to Netflix, we know you're listening. And it's got a runtime of about an hour and 30 minutes. But it's featuring the lead singer from The Flight of the Conchords, and he's actually quite funny. He's been in quite a few things. He was in the other Taika Waititi movie, What We Do in the Shadows. He was one of the main characters. Most recently, I think he definitely was the crab in Moana, if you've seen that.
I have seen that, yes.
Yeah, he was the crab who sung the Shiny song in Moana.
Huh.
So, but yeah, it looks like it's a good movie. It looks like it could be. Some of the reviews are pretty. What's the word? Polarizing. Some people really like this. Some people say it's like one of the greatest movies they've seen. And then other people say, well, and actually they're really polarizing around the main character who's played by Jermaine Clements, the lead singer of The Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah, I've seen him in a bunch of other roles. Like, he has a bunch of little cameos in other movies, and he's usually like the comic relief.
Yeah, he's actually quite funny, and I don't know if you've actually seen The Flight of the Conchords. I'm sure you've heard their music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to listen to them.
But they actually have a pretty funny show that goes along with the music. I can't imagine where I'd watch it these days, but he's been in Rick and Morty. Oh, he was the celestial fart in Rick and Morty.
Okay, I was just looking that up.
Yeah.
The girl, I've seen her in other things too.
Okay. Yeah. Looks pretty interesting. Do you have any reservations going into this?
Not really, no. I mean, I like to approach each movie as its own thing. I try not to have any biased opinions when I watch any movie. I have this rule. It's for the last like 5 years or so. I decided I don't care how bad the movie is. I will not walk out on it. I will watch it till the very end, at least until the credits. There have been a few movies that have definitely tested my patience throughout the whole runtime of the film.
Batman vs Superman.
Yep, and
That's so terrible.
The Room, for all you listeners who have seen,
that was
hype.
almost my pick, but I knew you had seen it already.
I
have not seen The Room yet, and I guess I'll watch that at some point. But that was almost my pick.
We would have to do 10 episodes just on that movie alone. There's so much stuff to talk about. I'm actually really excited for The Disaster Artist coming out on December 22nd. I really want to see that. But yeah, for this movie, I'm not going to have any biased opinions. I'm just going to go into it as if I paid for it at the movie theaters.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to a prosperous podcast, and let's go enjoy a movie. Hopefully it's any good.
We'll find out.
Hey, fool. Sucker. You foolish sucker. Bit of what? Hello? Hello, is Eric there, please?
Welcome to Meaty Boy.
It's an invitation to my party. You get to dress as your favorite animal.
Cool.
Do you want a kiss?
Yep. I brought you here today to ask you a very special question. Lily, will you be my girlfriend? Yes. Yes, I will. Awesome.
I need to go home.
What do you have to do?
Kill a man. He's gonna be home soon. Guess who's gonna be forming the welcoming party?
You?
You got it, girl.
What did he do?
Him and some of the other guys from school used to gang up on me. I used to be a bit of a nerd. How many boyfriends have you had?
3. How many girlfriends have you had?
That's irrelevant.
I have 2 things to say. 1, I'm leaving tomorrow. 2, that could change.
Your favorite animal's a shark?
Yep.
I almost came as a shark, actually, but then I realized that an eagle's slightly better.
Do you want to leave a message for him?
Tell him that justice is waiting for him.
Okay, Justin. Thank you. Bye-bye.
No, justice. Justice.
Recording. So, we're back. Eagle versus shark. Shark versus eagle. Brad, I gotta say, this is a little weird for, like, our first thing. This was way, like, I guess I want to say cuter than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I would say it wasn't as... It was completely different than what I thought going into it.
Yeah.
And it had some good moments in there.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say that I didn't enjoy it, because I definitely did. There was a point where I had my reservations about this, but overall I'd say that was probably better than Napoleon Dynamite. I'd probably take a rewatch to see if I agreed with that. But and that might just be because I'm jaded and Napoleon Dynamite's not brand new to me. But as far as things go, I think that was probably better. Like I said, there was like a good maybe like 20 minutes where I was like, what the fuck is this movie? And then
Yeah.
and then I think the payoff was great, and let's not go into the payoff just for the moment, but I don't know, they did a good job of making these people feel awkward. The girl especially, she was like
Lily.
almost robotic. Is that too much?
I kind of wrote down some things about just how awkward she is. Like she wants to fit in so badly that it just becomes so awkward.
Yeah, well, I mean, just to start off with, like it kind of seemed like she had never talked to this guy, but the first scene in the movie is she's pretending that he's asking her out. So I guess yeah, that kind of says it all right there. Like she's got this fantasy of what her perfect life would be, and it's kind of like this. It's a slight bit delusional, but she's definitely not the only delusional one in this movie.
Oh no, see, I really thought she was kind of like there might have been a mental disorder or something going on, and I thought maybe that was like a recurring theme throughout this whole movie. But
it's funny. I watched a review from these two. It was I'll have to try and find it again. It's in my search history, and post it. But it was like these two old fat white guys, and one of them called both of the main characters. And he's like they're retarded. I was like, they used to be able to say that back in 2007.
Yeah, there was so much awkwardness in the whole movie. I mean, like she seemed like like when you're a little girl and you well, not saying that we were ever little girls, but
What? How dare you assume my gender?
No, I meant like little girls, when they're princesses and they want to find their knight in shining armor, and this character, Jared, was supposedly her knight in shining armor, and then as you watch the movie, you just watch how awkward he is, with his little mannerisms, and God, he's a really complex kid. That's all I can say about him.
He's so complex. Why is he so complex? No, it's funny. When I first saw him, I was like, he looks like Benicio del Toro meets the Unabomber. But going through the movie, I realized it was Benicio del Toro meets the Unabomber meets Stephen King. Like they all had a baby and some weird genetic alteration thing.
That's exactly who he looks like too.
Yeah, it's kind of uncanny how he just like. Well, and the guy himself, he's like actually, I don't know. Girls kind of have like a weird nerd boner for him, but he's not that bad of a looking guy. But he does a great job of like playing the nerd role and kind of looking like he's dejected and got a problem. Like,
oh, just the scene where he's getting his ass kicked by Lily playing the video games. And then the only reason he wins is because she stares at him for like a long time and like doesn't break eye contact, and he has no idea that she's staring at him.
Yeah, she's got some obsession with they've got like the same mole. And,
yeah.
And she's like drawing it on magazines and staring at his mole. Wow. Yeah. I mean, we didn't even get to the part where she invites him to the party to dress as their favorite animal. And
right.
This is where the whole eagle versus shark comes in, because they wind up dressing as an eagle and a shark respectively and fighting each other in this like video game tournament that this whole party is centered around.
Yeah, the whole fight scene was, video game fight scene. It was like foreshadowing that he's gonna fight somebody later on, but I had no idea where this was going. Like after they hooked up in the bedroom the night of the party, I had no idea. I was trying to think, where the fuck is this story even gonna go now? And then he decides, oh, by the way, I'm gonna prank call. Well, let's back up.
Oh, that was great. His prank call.
Yeah.
His prank call was great. I don't. What did he say? I'm pretty sure I wrote it down here. Hold on. What did he say?
Well, to back up though, just so the listeners have a scope of what's going on. They just finished having very, quick, awkward sex, right? And then he rolls over, and instead of like talking to her or like being with her, he decides to grab his old ass 80s telephone with a plastic cup.
Oh yeah, his makeshift voice modulator where he like talks into a plastic cup where it sounds like this. Yeah, no, that was great. I actually didn't write down what he said, but it was worth a good out loud laugh. This movie was actually worth a couple of good out loud laughs.
Yeah.
Even the sex scene where she like left her shark costume on was pretty funny to me. There's a pretty good like awkward meter to this movie, like especially in the very beginning where she's at her job and you can just tell that everyone hates their job. I don't know what's so funny about that to me, but just having just the obvious like, yeah, whatever, I'll get that for you, like mentality that clearly everybody had at that job.
Right. Yeah. I just there were so many like one-liner jokes that were thrown in here, like Jared's friend Nathan, the best hacker he's ever met.
Yeah.
That dude, almost everything that came out of his mouth or anything he did, I would bust up, start laughing.
Yeah, he was funny, and wasn't he? He wound up being kind of like the instigator for the whole end of the movie.
Exactly.
But we won't get to that just yet.
Right.
I thought it was funny. You mentioned that she was fighting him in this video game. I think it's pretty appropriate that it was like a side by side like fighter, like a Mortal Kombat style fighter that they were playing. That girl's got Anna skills, you know.
Right. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I heard Anna probably channeled the same god.
Right. We've got a friend who destroys at Mortal Kombat. It's quite impressive.
She says she just button mashes, but I think she's full of shit.
And also I enjoyed the fact that they were using original Xbox controllers while they were doing that.
In the old tube television they were playing on.
Yeah.
It was what was the name of the game? Fightman,
yeah.
Fightman was the name of their old.
And that's what he was doing to train. He was playing Fightman to train to fight his nemesis. Which, I guess I have two questions for you, Brad.
Okay.
One, what's your favorite animal? Because the whole theme of this party was come dressed as your favorite animal.
Right. So, I really like giraffes. Mainly because I'm only 5'1". Spoiler to all of you listeners out there.
I wasn't going to make short jokes, but if you're going to bring it up, I guess
that's just ripped into me.
It's an audio medium. He's short, guys. I'm
5'1" on a good day. So I like giraffes just because they're so tall and they're just badass. I've always wanted to ride one, which will never happen. I know. And then sea turtles were my second option.
Trump's president. You could do anything you want to.
That is a very good point. I'm better start making a saddle now.
So I mean, you didn't ask me, but I'll tell you, and this might be a bit of a cop out because the movie's called Shark versus Eagle.
I was just gonna ask you what your favorite animal was.
It's a shark, and
okay.
I know that's a cop out, but I used to have an obsession with sharks because I was like scared to death of sharks. I had like the worst phobia that I was going to get eaten by a shark in a pool because I don't know, my brain worked weird. But anyways, haven't
you always lived in Colorado though?
Yeah, no, I've been to the ocean, but
okay.
It was just a weird phobia that I had. I don't know. It was just a weird phobia I had. But my second question is, did you have a high school nemesis?
No, I did not. As far as I know, I have a twin brother, as you know, and we were the only set of twins in my school. At least, I mean, maybe the only set of cool ones, maybe. So we had a lot of friends. I didn't have a certain group that I belonged to.
So you were like a popular kid in high school.
I wouldn't say popular. Not popular because we were cool. Popular because we were like a one of a kind thing.
Yeah, so you might have been my nemesis in high school because I like met my best friends hanging out with the goths.
Oh, okay. Well, I was friends with the goths though. I met some really cool guys. They're the ones that turned me into that punk music.
Oh,
I used to never listen.
Fair enough. Yeah.
What if we went to the same high school, and then what if we had to fight?
Oh, I mean, I don't want to be immodest, but you'd probably kick my
You would
ass.
destroy me. No, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure you would destroy me. You got to remember, I'm 5'1" now, and I'm 24 years old. So I would have been 4'7", probably.
Really? Oh, so you kept growing late, but you didn't grow much.
Correct. A lot of my friends in high school were my height until about junior year, and then they all started sprouting up like weeds, leaving me in the dirt.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I've kind of been the same size since high school. I've got a shirt that I bought just out of high school that I can still wear.
I have a bunch of shirts that I can still wear because I haven't grown for shit.
Yeah, fair enough. So this movie, there's a point where he takes this girl that you mentioned they had sex and they kind of did the like we're now boyfriend and girlfriend thing. And I mentioned this movie was a little cutesier than I expected it to be. But so when he has to go down and like fight his nemesis, he's actually got to go to his hometown, and he borrows his his girlfriend's brother's car, and to drive down there. Well, that he goes with him. The brother goes with him, which is weird. But the brother is like, well, one, he's the worst impressionist in the world. Did you?
Yeah.
He did a couple of bad ones. He did a bad, and they were deliberately bad, obviously, for the movie. But they weren't deliberately bad for the character. And it was a bad Terminator, which I won't even attempt to do as bad Terminator because that would make me a better impressionist than most. And he did a bad Austin Powers, which I won't attempt that one either.
They didn't want him to do the impersonations well. I think they wanted, the director wanted him to do it bad on purpose. It was a little cringeworthy.
So
every time he did one.
He was the director. No, he was the director. His dead brother, all those scenes with his dead brother, that was the director. And we didn't mention that the main character, Jared, like most of his family's dead. His mom and his brother, and then the girl character, her mother and father are dead. But the dead brother of Jared was the director. And I was looking for that because, like I said, he's got a great spot in Thor. And he puts himself in a lot of his movies.
Huh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I wonder why he looked a little familiar. He had like a black fro thing going on during the race.
Fro was ridiculous.
And I was like, he looks familiar.
Ridiculous, and it's kind of what made that character in Thor stand out was the South African accent. I don't know if it's kind of hard to pick out if you're like not like listening for it because it almost sounds like a weird Australian or a weird English. But like the South African accent kind of messes with a lot of people. And at least and it made some of the like lines a little bit funnier just because it's. I mean, I hate to be weird, but they're white, so it's fine. I can make fun of their accent.
We're allowed.
But yeah, no, he's and that's a trend that you see in his movies from what I've seen of the trailers of his other movies, which, like I said, I have to watch. Like, we would have been watching What We Do in the Shadows if it wasn't something we had to pay for right out the gate. And so maybe next time we can watch something that we have to pay for, but I wanted to keep it on Netflix for the moment.
Right. Yeah, no, I wonder, I was trying to figure out why he looks really familiar during that scene where he's in the marathon race. And then it didn't occur to me until after we got back on to do the podcast that, oh shit, that was him. So
yeah, and so you mentioned the marathon race. His brother, like we said, had died by the time the movie starts. But we see a couple of flashbacks where he's like this great athlete, makes his dad really proud. And then Jared, our main character, it's pretty clear that his dad is not proud of Jared and is actually kind of stuck on his brother, which is understandable because the kid died, and you're not supposed to outlive your children. But what are you gonna do? Like, that's how they start the movie. So
There was a lot of depth in this movie too, like for being a decent comedy piece, and trying to have like awkward happiness. It was met with a lot of depth, like you said earlier. The both characters, a lot of their family members had died, and the main character Jared's brother actually committed suicide, which you end up finding out. Oh, spoiler! In case anyone wants to watch this.
I mean, that's not the big payoff spoiler that I'm worried
No,
about.
it's a little spoiler, but just in case, you can write me hate mail at mrbradcousy@yahoo.com. I will just go ahead and delete it. So, anyways,
go for it.
Oh, just that, the brother commits suicide, and I was trying to figure out. They never paint a picture as to why. I mean, they always showed the brother in, a good environment, like being loved by the dad and, just winning a marathon or at least placing very well in it. And then they cut to immediately talking about him jumping off this big ass cliff.
Yeah, the dad kind of said that he thought he may have pushed him too hard, which is kind of the only clue we get. But it's, I think, what the director wanted you to believe. And I mean, he's the one who jumped off the cliff, right?
So, subtext there.
Subtext. So I guess it's probably about time to get to the... Well, so he brings her out to her family. She actually winds up getting along really well with his family, and he does not. It's pretty clear that he thinks his family are part of his tormentors. They're the people who reject him as well. So it's kind of weird for him that she gets along with his family so well, and he actually like warns them. He says they'll turn their back on you as soon as they get the chance. And
Yep.
And so at the point where right before the fight, he actually winds up breaking up with her, and it makes her super sad. And that's kind of where she like really bonds with his family, because she's stuck there because her brother won't answer the phone, and she calls him a fuckhead, and he's for sure he's for sure a fuckhead for not answering his phone for a day and a half, and his sister's calling him and leaving a bunch of voice messages.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
And he comes out as such a nice guy in the acting, but like it's like actions speak louder than words, man. And you just blew your sister off for like a week and a half.
Answer your goddamn phone.
Not a week and a half, a day and a half. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah, because she's waiting at the bus stop, and then that's when Nathan shows up and says, "Hey, so there's no trains or buses until Sunday. It's gonna be 3 days." And then she's all like, "Oh, okay." And then he awkwardly asks her out.
That was the worst. It's like, would you? I mean, my what was it? His uncle or his brother just broke up with him? Her?
Yeah.
I couldn't quite tell.
Nathan's friend was Jared.
Oh, right. He goes the hacker. That's right.
Goes, yeah, the hacker. And the hacker goes, I heard he broke up with Jared. And she's like, no, he broke up with me. He's like, oh, okay. Well, do you want to go out with me? Like, just immediately straight up asks her. And she bluntly says, no.
And thanks.
And then he plays it off like, I was just joking.
He does not play it off. He does not.
He tries. Like, in his mind, he totally plays it off, but
he's like screaming and crying as he rides his bike away. That's actually one of the funnier laugh out loud points in the movie as well.
Yeah. Oh man, I almost
screaming and crying.
Spit my drink everywhere when I watched that part. Yeah, he was definitely the instigator though too, because he was recording the fight at the end. Which I don't think we mentioned earlier. The reason why Jared goes to his hometown is to fight his high school bully. We might have already covered that, but I don't know.
we mentioned that. But okay. I guess this is as good as time as any is to reveal the spoiler alert. I mean, this movie is from 2007. If you haven't fucking watched it, I mean, and you're worried about spoilers. What the fuck are you doing here? But anyways, spoiler alert. He gets to the fight, and he invited his family and his best friend, the best hacker in the world, and his ex-girlfriend, the other main character, is there with his dad, and his nemesis shows up.
Before we discuss the reveal, I think it's important to note that everyone he invited to the fight are people who have doubt about him.
Oh, like, yeah, nobody's on his side about this.
Yeah, people that think they think he's a complete loser, and he is. So this is like his moment to prove them all wrong, and then Jason, take it away for the reveal.
So his nemesis shows up, and it's like the exact same screen you would have for a side-by-side fighter, where our main character is standing there ready to do a fight, and then in rolls a wheelchair. A Samoan guy in a Zoo York jacket, like a nice Zoo York jacket for the time, and an afro. Like, I don't know how he gets an afro, but that's what the character looks like. And he's like straight up apologizes. He's like, I'm sorry I bullied you. And he's like, the Jared character says, so you're a cripple? And I guess that's my South African accent, but and so he like gets into this apology. Yeah, I'm crippled. Like, I'm super sorry for what I did.
Yeah, he talks about how like it was a long time ago. Like, I'm so sorry. I was an asshole when I was in high school.
And then our main character proceeds to beat him with nunchucks until the guy in the wheelchair gets sick of it and wrestles him to the ground and puts Jared in a headlock and basically wins the fight despite his Jared's perceived advantage. Perceived is the emphasis on that word, advantage.
I think there's the funniest part of the whole fight, and this is the part that had me rolling on the floor. Well, not actually, but whatever. But so Jared, the main character, Jared, has a little daughter, which we probably forgot to mention. So
we definitely forgot to mention.
In the middle of the fight, when Jared attacks his high school bully with nunchucks in the wheelchair, like Jason said, they fall to the ground, and then the high school bully, I forget his name, Jonathan or something, and he's choking out Jared, and then there's this like slow motion part of the fight that almost every movie is done, and the little girl takes a picture of her dad getting choked the fuck out by a guy in a wheelchair who he has talked all movie about beating the shit out of.
Yeah, I mean, that was his hero's journey, was to go back to his hometown and take out this guy who tormented him in high school, and despite finding out that he was in a wheelchair, that his nemesis was in a wheelchair, he proceeded to attempt to beat his ass, and still got his ass beat by, his nemesis who was in a wheelchair. He got Professor Xaviered on him. Like, yes. It didn't take brains, it took bronze, but what are you gonna do?
I did not think because he walks up really slow up to the bully, and I thought they were gonna like shake hands, and this was gonna be revealing his character arc about how he's changed and he should be a better person.
Well, it definitely revealed his character arc.
And that is not. Yeah, it definitely revealed. It's just the opposite way. So I was like, oh, okay, like it's gonna be like, showing that he should be a better person, and then no, straight into, I'm gonna use these nunchucks and just beat this guy in this wheelchair.
I mean,
it's awkward.
I mean, you can say that you're the better person for not doing that now, but if you're in that position, what do you do? I mean, this guy's been tormented. I'm not advocating beating on the handicap, by the way.
I would hope not. Could you imagine the hate mail you're going to receive?
That's absurdasylum@gmail.com.
Yeah, we'll go through them together and we'll pick the best ones.
So, I mean, that's basically the highlight of the movie. Of course, the guy and the girl get together at the end of the movie and everything's happy. This movie was actually fairly creative. There was a couple of things that struck me as creative and something you wouldn't see in real life. Did you notice the Jared character when he was like kind of like showing off before they were about to get down? He had a invention called the watch wallet.
Yeah, I did see that.
And it is basically just a wallet attached to a wristband that you can rip open, and he pulled out like a $5 or something. And
Yeah.
I was like, that could probably, you could probably sell that to some hipsters, I'm sure.
I'm sure somebody would pick that up.
Especially if you merchandise it as shark versus eagle or eagle versus shark, right? As merchandise, because this is almost guaranteed a hipster movie. I mean, the main character, I think we mentioned, is from Flight of the Conchords, and that's like, despite how good they are, that's kind of a hipster band.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I mean, I don't think that idea is patented yet. Maybe we should jump on this.
I would hope. I would not have as much respect for Taika Waititi if I didn't. If he didn't already patent that, because I mean that's straight out genius, and that's got to be part of his genius. If he didn't patent that, and we get one up on him, like, shame on you, Waititi.
Like,
shame on you.
Taking a.
That's
you
big if.
Jump
I'm
with
not
the
trying to actually shame Taika Waititi. I enjoyed that movie, and I enjoyed Thor Ragnarok, and I'm sure I will enjoy the What We Do in the Shadows, because I've seen a couple of previews that looks hilarious.
I want to see that as well. Did you notice that during that same scene when he was showing off all his like inventions, what he said with the 2 candles that look like towers?
Yeah, he's got like a candle that's got a bunch of wicks coming out the side. And he's got like 2 side by side look like tall buildings. And he goes, I figured I could sell this to the Muslims.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, terrible. But also, it's great because it was in 2007 and that was quite topical.
Right. So I'm surprised they kept that in the script. You know,
this movie was so awkward, that wasn't even the worst part. Like,
no, but it was one of those like one-liners that I laughed my ass during. And then right after that, he had a wick or a candle figurine of Osama bin Laden's face.
He said, I figured sell this to the mix. Is that what he said? No, the Yanks.
And yeah, to the Yanks.
I sell this to the Yanks.
Sell this to the Yanks. Oh God, that was pretty funny too. I wrote that part down because I laughed so damn hard.
Yeah, this movie was good for a couple of out laughs. That reveal where the guy was in the wheelchair was like a solid out loud laugh, and it almost carried me through to the part where he started wailing on the guy in the wheelchair, which is an almost out loud laugh, which might say some weird things about me. Well, no, it was definitely an out loud laugh, and it definitely says some weird things about me. But it was a funny part of the movie, and it was like I said, we talked about the payoff of this movie was the fact that the guy's in the wheelchair and the fight continues regardless.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Hey, you know what? Kudos to Jared for not being biased, though.
Right? They wanted to be treated like regular people. That's what's going to happen.
Exactly. I know every time I go to hold a door for somebody in a wheelchair, they get pissed and look like they're not allowed to do it themselves. So, kudos to them. That was a good pick. I really enjoyed your pick this week.
Yeah. See, I was worried it was going to be a little too like cutesy, because it was, like I said, there was a good 20 minutes in there where I was like,
I'm gonna throw up.
I don't know if this was a good one. So, but it also like brings up the fact that Thor Ragnarok, despite how tired I was when I watched this movie, was a good movie, and this was his first feature-length film. And I know that you're in film school, and I'm not trying to like blow up your spot, but I have a quote from him about film school because he didn't go to film school.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of them that didn't go to film school.
So he says, I didn't go to film school, not because film school is a waste of time. It's not. But I started very late, so it was never an option. Plus, I don't believe in schools. I only did it because it seemed cool and I love movies. My advice, watch movies, a lot of movies, but not the movies they're making now. Watch the old ones. Watch them once, normally, then try without the sound, and just watch the shots. That's my film school.
Yeah, that's actually a technique they teach at the film school, which is, wonder if the film school's ripping them off. But
hey, TW, Taika Waititi, get your fucking copyright on this shit.
Yeah, seriously, get your shit going, man. You're losing money as we speak. Yeah, that's actually I do that periodically. I'll watch a movie that I really like. I'll watch it once for the story, and then when I get time, usually within the same week, I'll watch it again. I don't turn the sound off because I think sound is also a very important part of filmmaking. Uh, an audience can forgive bad camera work, but they cannot forgive bad audio.
Well, that makes sense.
One of the number one rules of filmmaking. So I was like, no, I'll leave the audio on. But yeah, you do notice a lot of like camera shots, and you start thinking of ways like, oh, I should try to do that sometime.
Well, and you may have heard in previous episodes, I usually have the movie going on silent in front of me as I do the rest of the episode, like I would be now. I kind of changed up the way we do things because I moved, but like I respect that, and it makes sense because you kind of pick things out that you don't normally.
Right. Yeah. Sound does distract you, so when you put it on mute, you'll pick up a lot of. You actually start realizing a lot more of the. There's a term called mise en scene. You know what that means?
I do not.
It basically just means everything in the frame or in the scene. So you start picking out clues, things in the background, like stuff that was on the set deck, or you start picking out the way the camera moves. You start picking up a lot of subtext throughout the composition of the film. And that's one really good reason to keep the sound off, because it'll help you find those things. Like in this one, I'm thinking about going back and watching it without sound to see if I can pick anything up. I bet you there's a bunch of subtext in here about suicide and death.
Yeah, I'm sure there probably is. That's something I've always wanted to do with this, and if you're interested, we should do it in the next couple of days. Is come back and do it like a couple of days after what you think.
Okay, yeah, I'm down for that.
Cool. So I don't have much other to say from this movie other than I would recommend watching this movie with your significant other. Other than, like my short guy friend that I have.
Correct.
I mean, it was a good movie either way, and I'm glad we did it. Welcome to Absurdist Asylum, Brad.
Thank you for the warm introduction.
Yeah, it was extra warm, nice and cuddly.
I would also say this is a good movie to watch with your significant other, especially if you want to have a good laugh and everybody likes those cutesy movies. This is the perfect one to watch.
All right, man. Well,
you'll gain some points. You'll get some relationship points, I'm sure.
It was cute and awkward, and that's what the average girl wants these days. It's cute and awkward. So, all right, man. Well, we'll catch you in a couple of days, and we'll talk about the movie again.
Alrighty. Thanks for having me on, Jason. We will see each other soon.
Chilling at my store, doing my thing, when in walks a guy with his dick in a sling. I'm like, holy shit, what happened to you? He said, how much will you give me for the family jewels? I said, $10. He said, no way, $10 and a frisbee. He said, okay. Then I took his sugar lumps and put them up in a display and sold them as hacky sacks later that day.
All the ladies they want a taste of my sugar lumps, sweet sugar lumps, yeah.
And we're back. It's been like what, Brad? 5 days, 4 days, something like that.
Roughly 4 days.
We are definitely more sober than we were the last time we watched we talked about the movie Shark versus Eagle. And I wanted to get maybe just like a retrospect, sober perspective. Thinking, if you had to give this movie like the 1 out of 10 rating, and I know this is probably just the worst, where would you rank this?
Are we talking Rotten Tomatoes, who is super critical about every movie that's ever been made, or are we
We're
talking?
talking Cozy Films review of.
Okay. So if we're talking my personal reviews, I tend to like a lot of movies nobody really likes. 1 to 10 scale, I would give it a hard 6 or 7.
I can respect that. You want to back that up with any, like, this is why, for all those haters on the internet who think you just gave it that because you don't appreciate good film.
Right, right. No, I would say the story wasn't quite there. I think they could have flushed out the story a little bit more. The characters are great. No beef there in that department. Character arc, or I would say lack thereof, but
Lack
it
of
was
arc, yeah.
more of a surprising arc was there. So I would say that would kind of throw me in the middle of like the 6 and 7s. I mean, let's see. If you want to say, in filmmaking wise, The Room would be a rating number 1 of god awful. But it's The Room also is so god awful that it's also very great. And then a 10 would be very hard to decide for that. I mean, you could go something classic like Pulp Fiction, which would probably be like an 8 or 9.
Yeah, 10's very hard. I think I have this at more of like a solid 7 for a lot of the reasons that you enjoyed it as well. But here's why I like this movie. I like this movie because it's what I would copyright. I'm going to copyright this as a sneaky date night. It is cutesy on the outside. You can, I mean, it was cutesy on the inside too, but it was one of those ones that's not just like a drone to watch. Like, you get those movies like Life as We Know It or fucking some other terrible like date night flick that you want to watch with something that, or someone that you care about something. You want to watch with someone you care about. And it's like, this is one that you could pick and not hate it and still have the other person enjoy it.
Right, yeah, this is a movie that you could watch, and if both of you don't like it, it's got enough comedy in it to where you could both laugh about the movie. So you could both be like, "Oh my god, this is pretty bad," right? But then you would keep watching it because it's still entertaining.
Yeah,
it's not a movie you would walk out on, I don't believe.
No, I think, I mean, especially if you get to like right before the climax to like right at the point where there's like you hit like a little like the end of the 15-20 minute lull, and if you're still there, like I said, the payoff, like we said, the payoff in this movie is great.
Exactly.
It's not something I would recommend walking away from. It's actually something that I would recommend to anybody out there who's got to watch a movie with their significant other or with somebody that they're interested in romantically. Or I mean, this is kind of weird because I picked this for our first episode and I didn't realize it would be so cutesy, but it was a good one, and I'll stand by it. I'll put my heels in the ground and say, I hope you enjoyed this cutesy movie I picked, Brad.
Are you subtextually coming on to me?
I'm just coming.
Oh, well, hey, either way, right?
Right?
We both get something out of it.